Welcome. Another graceful touch speaks out. Connect you with leading health authority of different areas to talk about how you can have better wholeness or health in your. Today we're going to be Mitchell about unlock the power pantry. Bring Sarah into the call.
Hi.
Welcome to the call.
Thanks for
Have you
having
with
me.
us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So just by looking at the title, suggesting that has anything to do with health?
So much to do with our health. Well, I think anybody who helps their clients with
Yes.
diet.
So to expand with that a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's the obvious thing about like the things that we eat affect our health, right? And anybody who helps clients with diet at all knows that. But what I've seen is that if you need a special diet, it's more important for you to make sure that your diet isn't interrupted. And not only can that help with like client success to help them either not fall off the wagon or get back on faster if it does happen, but also it just makes them more resilient for, I mean, kind of the world that we live in, we don't always have access to everything we need all the time. And if you're using a special diet, it's even more important for you to be prepared, and you can use your pantry to do that.
Awesome. So as with the pantry and diet and whatnot, whoa, where'd you go? Hi. Oh, okay. He's back again. Sarah,
Hi.
welcome back.
Thank you. I don't know what
Technological, right?
happened.
We deal with it anyway.
Yeah,
It
pretty
makes it
much. That.
just so much more exciting. Borderless vehicles coming.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
So anyway, pantry and diet. Is there ways individuals would gain power on their as it relates to what their eating necessities are? I mean, or is pretty much a cookie cutter. If you would just do it this way, you'd be okay.
I think that both. I think it's definitely both.
Okay.
So in the food storage community, which is what we call when we have an extended pantry that can be used during hard times or times of emergency, we call it food storage. In the food storage community, there are a few standard ways of doing it, and they work for different types of people. And some of it also depends on your goals and how strict your requirements are. So if you're doing a diet out of preference, like you feel better, then you might be able to be a little more flexible in what you're preparing for and how you do that, versus somebody who like, I have to eat this way or I'm gonna die. And so there's different levels, and some of that's going to be dependent on what your body can handle, and also what you're willing to do and what you want to accomplish. I'm not sure if that answered your question.
So what I just contacted you, decided to hire you my pantry. And well, back even a step from that. I called hiring you to do my pantry. Me through the paces. I mean, how do you know I'm going to be the right client you bring forward?
So if you were hiring me to help you with your individual pantry, what it is in my program, I talk a lot about mindset. It's like, what are you wanting to be prepared for, and what are you willing to do for that, and what are your dietary necessities. I believe that doesn't matter how you eat, what your diet is, there is a way to be prepared, but that level of preparedness might vary based on what you're willing to do, right? So if you can only eat fresh vegetables and fresh meat, do you want to have a giant freezer with frozen vegetables and frozen meat, right? If you don't, or if you won't do that, are you willing to live on a farm and raise chickens and have a garden or do hydroponics, right? There's a way to do it, but it depends on what your level of commitment is and what the level of necessity is. And so what we would do is we would talk about like kind of what your goals are. What are you worried about? Because everybody's worried about different things. There are some people who think that having a 3 month supply of food is a lot. That's like so much to them. But we've seen through different emergencies, especially recently, that having a few months of food in your home is very wise, and it's very doable once you learn how to look at it and what to do.
Awesome, awesome. So, listening to that, the first part I got, you're going to need a giant freezer. Generally, I wouldn't think of a freezer as pantry. In my pantry, I think of this little room that has all these little boxes in it. But then you really blew my mind when you took me out to the farm, and it's like, okay, now your pantry's in, and everything like that. What is a pantry?
Well, I mean, to me, a pantry is, I don't usually consider chickens and a garden as part of your pantry as far as like food storage goes. But for some people, like if that's the lifestyle they need to create, then that's what it is. Um, for me, a pantry is any food that you have stored in your home. And so my freezer is definitely part of my pantry. We eat a lot of cheese, and I keep a lot of cheese in the freezer, and that's part of my pantry. We also have like uh, buckets of popcorn. We eat a lot of popcorn, and those buckets are part of my pantry. And then also, I have the standard. Here's the boxes, and here's the bags, and the kids eat Cheerios. That's in the pantry too. But one of the things that I talk about is the different levels of pantry. So you've got the short-term things that need to be eaten soon, like chips or cereal or things that go bad. And then you have the medium term things that last a little longer, things like canned goods, pasta, those last a while, jarred sauces. And then you also have the long term things, the things that'll pretty much last forever as long as you store them properly. Sugar, wheat, rice, salt, those will last forever. And so there's different levels of pantry, and you can use them in different ways depending on your lifestyle and your diet and your goals and your space.
Sure. So I've decided to have a freezer and to store foods. The normal now traditional American style, and now because it's not normal yesterday. Um,
Yeah.
Now, how do I know if I'm a good fit? How do I know your program and what you're doing is going to fit my needs?
So what I do is I help people. Uh, my program is a really good fit for people who want to get it done and they don't want to spend hours and hours on YouTube and reading blogs. There's tons of resources out there, but anybody who's tried to research something themselves know that sometimes that's awesome and sometimes that's too much. And so if you want food storage to be your new hobby, go for it, right? I can give you a list, tons of awesome people out there. But if you really want somebody to hold your hand, or if you need account.
And we're back again.
I'm sorry, I do not know what's going on, but I'm still here. So,
Okay.
so if you want accountability, hand holding, think of it like the different levels of working out. Do you want to work out at home? You just going to go for a run by yourself? Are you going to get some videos on YouTube and work out with YouTube? Do you need to go to a gym class? Do you need a personal trainer? Right. And so I'm more in the people who want the class, people who want the personal trainer. And the people who have the resources, it's not, if you're like pinching every single penny, then your best bet is going to be to do this slowly over time with the help of a lot of the free resources. And I'm going to have some free resources too. But if you're like, I want to get this done and I want help, let's do this, that's where I come in.
Uh, like a lot of your helping a person be organized.
Kind of. This isn't a pantry organization program.
Okay.
We do a lot of mindset because there's a lot of baggage around food and keeping food in the house, weirdly enough. And because we think that we've evolved and our society is so stable that we can just have whatever food we need for the day. Like there's people who go shopping every day and they don't have any food in their home because they think that our world works like that. And it does for them until it doesn't, right? And so we saw with COVID that there are times when things get interrupted. And so I do a lot of mindset because if you think that you don't need if that you can always go to the store, then you're not going to think that you would need food in your home because I can just go to the store. And so we talk about like some of these blocks that you might not realize that are holding you back and making it so you're not seeing the options in front of you. So there's that. The other thing is if you haven't grown up doing food storage, just like if you haven't grown up doing money and finances, you're not always going to know where to start and where the resources are, what's the best way to spend your money, where to put them, what to do with them. And like I said, you can go online and be like, how do I cook wheat? And that might work for you, but for other people they need more of a roadmap. And so I can give them the roadmap of here's what you need based on your goals, based on your lifestyle. Here's the things that you can do with it. Here's what it's going to do for you. Here's the options of how you can use it and work it into your life. And so it's less of an organization thing. I mean, we talk a little bit about organization, but the organization is very personal. And so I can help you figure out how you want to organize it, but that's not the main purpose. My main purpose is to help you get this food into your home in a way that works for you and is also sustainable.
So, what if I um, gotten the cancer or diabetes or some kind of a situation like that? Does your program speak to that aspect?
So diabetes is an interesting one because you have medicine that you need to keep you alive. And so we do actually talk about these things of it's not just about, what's the food that you need, but we can also go as far as like, what are the things that you use that you need? And so if you need to store medicine, how are you going to do that? If you need, equipment that uses electricity, do you want to look at solar panels? Do you want to look at generators? We want to make it so that you are prepared to be resilient. And so, I do help people with different types of diets, and that's why I talked about in the beginning, like if all you can eat is fresh meats and vegetables, there is a way to accomplish that, but it might look a little different than you think. It might involve a freezer. It might even involve canned goods that aren't your favorite, but they'll do if they have to. And then
Sure.
if you don't use them, you donate them before they come of date. And you look at it as food insurance. Like, nobody wants to have to use their life insurance, but you still have life insurance because it's a possibility. So it's the same thing. Like, I don't want to have to use my food insurance, but I will if I have to. And some of that will depend on like how narrow your dietary requirements are. With cancer, that's an interesting one. It would depend on what your outlook is and what your support system looks like, and what your goals are too. So if you have cancer and you need a very specific diet, but this diet's only going to be temporary, then that's going to be different than this is the way I have to eat for the rest of my life, but I still think the rest of my life's going to last a little bit, you know. And so because some of these things, they take energy, they take maintenance, or if they don't take energy and maintenance, then they are going to be more emergency based, right? Like if I don't have the time and resources, and I've done this before, where I've done lots of different types of food storage. I've had ones where we rotate. I've had ones where we've just put it away because I couldn't deal with it at the time, but I still wanted to have it there for emergencies. And so, like, if you've got cancer and you are white and you can't do anything, but you want to make sure that your family can eat no matter what, then maybe you store a lot of rice and popcorn because your family will eat rice and popcorn and it will wait for you to be well enough to deal with it.
Awesome. So, how did you get involved in this? Why?
Are you there? Because I cannot hear you.
Why? But we are yeah.
Sorry, we had a power surge.
Is that, all right.
I think it is because the lights are flickering. So hopefully we're back because the lights are back.
Okay. All right. So the question then that I would have is why did you focus on the power of the pantry? Why it become important to you?
So I was raised with food storage. It's very much in my area. It's part of our culture. It's okay. So it's part of our culture. It's something that my church does. So it's very much something that's been part of my life growing up. We had wheat. We made wheat bread. And then when I went to college, like I did minimal preparedness things. I always had a case of water bottles under my bed, and we used that every year. Every year, my apartment would have its water turned off, and I'd pull out my water bottles. And so that's always kind of that's this general like preparedness thing is just a part of my growing up, part of my culture, and it's a lot more common in rural areas, especially because there might be snowstorm. You can't get to the store, you know, so you got to be more prepared. Um, but I really started focusing on it for myself in 2008. I don't know if you remember 2008 with the the housing crash. A lot of people don't know that at the same time as the housing crash, there was also a wheat shortage. And so if you were to go to the store, there were limits on buying flour or wheat. And there was something with the crops, and so there was a wheat shortage. And it just I was in a class called Housing the Family at BYU, and we were looking at this giant multi-million dollar house that was being foreclosed. And my teacher said, all this house, and it doesn't matter, they've lost it. All this room, they had like 14 bathrooms. It was ridiculous, okay? All this room, and do you think that they had any food storage? And for some reason, that visual of this giant empty house that they were obviously not prepared to keep, they were not prepared for what was coming because they lost it during this housing crisis. That imagery just smacked me across the face. And I decided, I went home and I talked with my husband, and we decided that we would start doing food storage. And my mom helped me. My mom, she's like, it'd be so easy. There's just two of you, because she started our food storage when there was five of us, and so there's a lot easier when there's just two of you. And so my mom helped me to get our things together, and we just did the long term basics that last forever, and we put them away in my parents' basement until we had space. And but that's really started this journey of learning how to learning about like the fragility of our system and the things that we can do in order to be prepared for it. And the interesting thing is there's a Venn diagram of preparedness and like sustainability, like green stuff. Because if you're worried that you're not gonna be able to get stuff, then you're going to prioritize reusables. And then also with alternative medicine, because if you're worried that you're not going to be able to get stuff, then you're going to wonder what alternatives there are. And so it's funny because preparedness actually was the beginning of my health journey.
Awesome.
But after COVID,
Awesome.
COVID was when I really realized I had been trying to tell my friends and my family forever, right? And ad nauseum, they were sick of listening to me about food storage. And I'd kind of given up. And then during during COVID, during the beginning of COVID, um, I really got to see it really put into action. We'd used it before, like when my husband lost his job, we were able to use our food storage, and that helped a ton. But during COVID, when we weren't going to the store, um, I had some of what I needed, but I was able to trade with other people. So I had lots of rice and other people ran out of rice and I gave them rice. I apparently forgot to stock vegetables. And so my aunt brought me Costco bags of vegetables. And, um, and
A
then after
bartering
COVID,
system.
yeah, exactly. Except it wasn't one to one. It was more of a sharing system. I have rice, I'll give you rice. You have vegetables, you give me vegetables. And so it was just within neighborhoods and families, and it worked out really well. And yeah, eventually it would become a bartering system, but in the beginning it was just helping people out. And after that, people were a lot more interested in learning about food storage. So when I decided to start a business, this was what I wanted to do. I want to tell people about food storage because I've realized that so many people outside of my area, outside of the rural area, outside of my culture, outside of my faith, they've never heard of food storage. And I want people to know because it was such a huge blessing during COVID. And I've talked to a lot of people who are like, oh, I wish I had known about that. That would have made such a huge difference when I was worried about going to the store. And if they had known that you could have food in advance and then you wouldn't have to go to the store.
So, one has your business in Pantry Independence.com is your website for you. You've been running your business.
About a year.
Awesome. Awesome.
So my business is fairly new, but I've been doing food storage for 15 years.
Sure. Sure. To look 1 to 10 years down the road, your vision for your business. Where do you want to? What's your goal?
I would love to get this big enough that it's something that people hear about all over the country. Ideally all over the world, but all over the country, people are like, oh yeah, food storage, that's a thing. It's not just canning. It's not just, Mormons. It's not just beans and rice. It's not just for preppers. It's for normal people. And so I see eventually having different levels of courses and different levels of training and training other people to help other people so that I can, multiply myself and make this so that it can be a normal thing again. Because it used to be normal. When we think back to the Great Depression,
It used
so
to
many
be
people had
way normal.
yeah, it was what was necessary, and we think that it's not necessary anymore. But I think that anybody who's been paying attention to recent events realizes that it's still wise. It's still wise to do. And so I want to bring it back to normal people and make it a normal part of their lives again.
Yeah, I guess I remember. We had our. I knew exactly where it was. You could walk in. There's all sorts like that, and completely. But do we have that today? Much.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
today is more well
Hmm.
type situation.
Yeah,
So
and
is
it's encouraged.
there any?
Oh, it's encouraged.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's encouraged with the way our society runs. We like to think that we've made so much progress that we don't need it anymore. We have just in time. You can get DoorDash to your door, and especially like with minimalism trending. Like I've seen people, they're like, you don't need food in your house. You can just go out and get food whenever you need. And I'm like, no, you
Mm.
still need food in your house. And even if you just look at like government, like even FEMA is like, you need food in your house.
Yeah, I remember actually. So what I just referred to on my dad's side, it was completely different. He went to a restaurant. And
Mm-hmm.
so, it was always going out to a restaurant or everything like that. He had no food in his house. It made him dependent on those restaurants. And
Yes.
food quality then, as a result, was limited by whether they actually brought in good food. Whereas when you have a pantry and whatnot, you're able to more closely monitor, okay, is okay in my pantry? No, it doesn't meet the quality of my pantry.
Yes. Exactly.
So I actually heard like of a uh, on a baton of power of the pantry before. Is something that you self, or did it come forward and you're building upon their expertise for your own foundation?
No, I obviously I've learned a lot from a lot of experts. I had a lot of actually help from my mom, who was the church expert for our local congregation. And I've watched hundreds, thousands of hours of YouTube and read tons of articles. But kind of what I did is I kind of created my own system, because there was a lot of people out there who were either very dogmatic about how it had to be done. They're like, everybody eats canned goods. I'm like, well, not everybody eats canned goods. And or they would not understand what it's like to live with chronic illness, and their systems weren't adaptable to that. Because I've been through some periods where I couldn't cook, and I still wanted to be able to have that peace of mind that comes with a pantry. And so I've had to kind of create my own system that's kind of an amalgamation of the systems that are out there. But yeah, I'm the only one I know of that focuses a lot on the mindset, and then really has pulled all of these things together to help you figure out what's going to be best for you, rather than this is the way it's done.
So I'm going to twist this just a little. Like, I'm a vegan, but a vegan.
Okay.
Speak to my mindset. How are you going to help me in my pantry to make sure that, I don't do the cheeses, I don't do the meats. I'm not saying it's necessarily bad. I'm just saying, so what would your advice towards my pantry be?
So some of that depends on your goals. If you are wanting food insurance that you put away, that you will use if you have to, it's actually super easy if you're vegan, because the basic long-term food storage is vegan. It's coconut oil and rice and beans and wheat, and you would use regular sugar because you wouldn't use honey. And so you can use whatever fancy type of sugar you want, but usually need it for calorie and energy purposes. And so yeah, no, actually vegans are super easy to do food storage for. Now, if you want to have an uninterrupted diet, which is different than just food insurance, then you have to figure out what you're willing to do. Are you wanting to have hydroponics? My parents have hydroponics and they love it so much. They grow their own salads and they're like, look, it's 6 feet from farm to table. And so, it depends on how much you want your lifestyle to continue and how much you are willing to change your lifestyle to accomplish that goal. And so, but you can store frozen vegetables, or you can store canned vegetables even if they're not your favorite, right? And so there's definitely, vegan is the easiest of the special diets to accommodate food storage for, because you can even sprout. Like I store lentils for sprouting, and I store peas for microgreens, and so you can still even have fresh vegetables even without doing a full-on farm or hydroponics grow setup, as long as you are willing to get your body used to things like sprouts and microgreens.
Very good, very good advice there. Now, somebody get in touch with you. Let's say they've listened to this video and they've borne with our little technical issue today, and they're now here at the very end, and they said, I want to have Sarah help me to really become pantry, to experience pantry independent. I can see that they could use your website, pantry.com, but is there any other way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, if you know you want to work with me, the best way is to just shoot me an email, Sarah with an H, Sarah at pantryindependence.com. Let me know that you're interested, and then we can talk about the options. I have one-to-one coaching, and I have a wait list for group coaching, and then I'm developing my course right now. So it's definitely options, and email is the best way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. And that was Sarah with an H at pantries.com.
Yep.
Awesome. Thoughts before we kind of bring this to a close and whatnot, have I not asked?
Well, not that you didn't ask this, but one of the things that I wanted to say is, especially when you have a special diet, like if you're vegan, right? You can't just go to any old restaurant and get food. And I have a friend who has such a severe fish allergy, she can't even use sea salt. And during COVID, she ran out of her pink Himalayan salt, and there wasn't any in stores because there was a lot of weird shortages.
Okay, go ahead.
So she ran out of her sea salt, or her not sea salt. She couldn't use sea salt. She had to use the pink Himalayan, and she couldn't find it anywhere. Lucky for her, I had stored a bunch because I like pink Himalayan, and I had enough that I could share with her, and it got her through until she could find it again. And so, especially if you're using a special diet, it's wise to think through what you would do if you can't get the food that you need, whether it's for a week or a month, or even if it's because you can't afford it. I look at this, it's almost like an extension of your savings. If you're going to have a 3 to 6 month supply of money, you can also have a 3 to 6 month supply of food, and for all of the same reasons. And the other thing that it does is it either extends your money, or it makes it so that the threshold of where you need to be to accomplish 3 months is less, because now you don't have to spend any of that savings on food. You have already prepared in advance your food savings.
Awesome. Well, number one, I want to say thank you for coming out and sharing all this with us. It's really important to understand the power of the pantry in order to help a person. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to put you on hold. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of share a little, and then I'm going to bring you back for a golden nugget moment.
Okay,
I'll
sounds
be
good.
back. All right. I'll be back or you'll be. All right. So I have Graceful Touch Massage City, South Dakota. My wife and I have owned Graceful Touch for 5 years, November. We have over 400 5-star reviews in that time, and we are the leading when it comes to massage in. I'd even say, quite honestly, we probably are the leading authority, period, because not a lot of people have for on Google in 5 years. With that said, The other thing that you can do is you can line, which is all certified plant-based touchproducts.org. You want to come in and share your passion towards health, your interest, your focus. As today, despite what we've been having, my handle where you'll find me as Pain Relief for You. I have that listed right there at the bottom there. Pain Relief for You. Be more than glad to talk with you if we can figure out a way to get you featured on Touch Speaks Out. With that said, no further Sarah back in for a gold nugget moment. Sarah, so what about a
Yep.
golden nugget? If people listen to this entire interview and could only walk away with one item, what would you want that item to be?
It would be that if you eat and you plan on continuing to eat, then you should think about food storage and figure out how to make it work in your life.
I'm pretty sure most all humans eat.
Yeah. I
So,
know.
so very good point, very well said, and I do thank you for your time. I'm going to put you on hold one more moment for me, and I'm going to end this stream, and we'll come back and have a final chat.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.